Who says style must come with a giant hit to the wallet? If you're like me and have champagne taste on a soda budget, DIY Decor Dupes are today's secret weapon. We'll be creating a luxe look for less with crafty hacks, a little DIY, and a ton of fun.
Hello friends, welcome back. Man, it's good to see y'all. I have missed y'all. I have been MIA lately and I have a good reason for that, but we will be talking about that at the end of this video. So stick around because I really would like to share a special message with all of you from my heart to yours. For now though, we're gonna jump into some really fun home decor, DIY home decor ideas. I am very excited to share these 3 projects with y'all. So let's just jump right into it. Our first project is a project that y'all have seen me do several times on many different scales, different levels, different styles, and different designs. I love to create lighting. Lighting to me just sets a tone and sets a mood and sets an ambiance for a space or a room. However, lighting can be very, very expensive, especially table lamps. They're very costly, and when I scroll through and come across one, or when I'm scrolling decor sites and decor pages and magazines and whatnot, I see all these lamps that I just think are stunningly beautiful. However, the prices are a little bit out of my budget. So anytime I have an opportunity to create my own lighting, I jump at it. So this project, yep, you guessed it. We're going to be creating a really cool table lamp that is sort of a dupe. It's kind of a dupe. It's inspired by several different styles that I have seen, and I've kind of combined them all into one. And my favorite part about this project is, number 1, it's very inexpensive, and number 2, I have been able to use a lot of supplies that I already had in my arsenal. So let's jump into this project. I hope y'all enjoy.
For this first project, you are going to need a vessel of some sort, and you're going to need a few lamp parts. I got my lamp kit on Amazon, so I'll have it linked in the supply list. And then because this face, has to have a way to hold our little lamp parts, I cut out this little round disc and created a cap for the top of my vessel so that we could easily attach the lamp stem to our vessel. So the very first thing that we need to do is, obviously, we're going to attach our little lamp stem here to this by using the screws that it came with. So I screw it into the bottom through our little lid here, and then to make sure that it stays securely held into place, I'll put a washer and a lock nut on the end of this. And that should lock everything into place really well so that we don't run the risk of this coming apart once it's all assembled. Okay, y'all, so I do feel like it is very, very important to use the lock nut and washer on the bottom of this, and I will explain to you why in just a little bit. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get this assembled. I want to permanently attach this cap with our lamp components permanently to the vessel because I don't want to run the risk of this popping on. I don't want it falling off every time I go to turn the light on or whatnot. So I'm going to permanently attach it using some of this Gorilla construction adhesive. I love this stuff. It holds anything and everything together permanently forever. I'm not sure this will ever come apart. So I just put a little bit on, and then using a popsicle stick, I kind of just spread it out a little bit evenly and I'm trying really hard not to be super messy here because first of all, I don't want this all over my hands, and I don't want a whole bunch of squeeze out and a bunch of cleanup to do after I get our little cap attached to the top of this vessel. Okay, well, that didn't work exactly the way I had it planned. I ended up having to do some cleanup anyway, but that is one of the beautiful things about this Gorilla Glue. It does clean up really nicely with just a damp cloth. You don't want to use too much water because you don't want to soak things down and risk getting water in the glue, but just a damp cloth cleaned it up beautifully. And I love how this is looking so far. So I'm going to let that glue completely set up. So I set this lamp aside for about 12 to 13 hours. It takes about 12 hours for this glue to completely cure. So I just left it overnight to let the glue cure. So now we're going to go ahead and add some color to this. So I'm mixing up some blue here, and I'm really loving blues lately. However, this one is just feeling a little too on the bright side. So to tone this down, I'm going to add some black to it to just really deepen it up and make it feel and look a little bit more moody. I want the finish on this lamp to have a ton of texture. So to achieve that, I'm adding some baking soda to my paint. Y'all have seen me do this a ton of times. This is just a really fun hack. If you want to add a lot of texture to something, just go ahead and simply add some pure baking soda to your paint. It works amazing and gives you that it gives you a really true ceramic pottery finish to a glass piece. It works especially well on glass, but it works really well on wood also. So I did end up adding a ton of baking soda to this because I wanted a ton of texture. So the more baking soda you add, obviously, the more texture you're going to have. It does make your paint very, very thick, but that is okay. All right, y'all, so here's another hack. Anytime you are painting on glass, it is a really good idea to put some kind of a glue base down on this, almost like a primer. It just helps the paint adhere to the glass better. So I coated this entire thing with some Mod Podge and let it set and dry fully. Now we're going to go ahead and start painting, and I'm super excited to do this. However, I don't want to get paint on my stem. So I did unscrew this just a little tiny bit from the base. Don't unscrew it all the way though, because of the fact that I glued this cap to my vessel. If I unscrew it all the way, I'll never get it attached, because remember, we tightened that with a lock nut on the bottom. So just unscrew it a little tiny bit so that you have enough, just a little bit above your wood piece, the little cap. Tape it off, and then we'll push it back down. And this just ensures that we're not going to get paint on our stem. All that made sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. Sometimes it just makes more sense to watch what I'm doing rather than hear me try to explain it. Okay, y'all, so now we're going to go ahead and just start painting, and this is a very straightforward process. We're simply just painting this on. I did discover, though, as I was working on this, at first I was brushing this on, but because I did add a ton of baking soda to this, in the end, it worked a lot better to dab it. Brushing it on was almost taking away some of that textured look that I really wanted. So in the end, instead of brushing it on, I do kind of dab it, and I did do 2 full coats to this. So I let each coat dry and then added another one, and in the end there was 2 coats on this. Oh goodness, that was a really rough explanation there. But I hope you're following me. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how amazing this turned out? You would never know that this wasn't just originally designed and built to be a lamp. I am so pleased with how well it turned out. I especially love how the textured paint covered up our seam between the little cap and the vessel. You would never know that we added that top piece to this. It just turned out so amazing. Okay, y'all, so I have a very special place where I want to keep this lamp. However, I don't have an outlet close by. So my solution for that, my quick fix, is to use these amazing, wonderful USB rechargeable light bulbs. I love these things. I have them in lamps all around my house because if you have a place where you want a lamp but there's no outlet and you can't run cords or don't want cords all over the place, these are an amazing alternative to that. They work good and they have a really good lifespan. So we now have our lamp built and all we have left to do is add the lampshade. Aren't these bulbs so cool? They're just like magic.
I am super happy with how this lamp turned out, y'all. I feel like it looks like something I could have bought in any kind of high-end home decor, boutique, or showroom. I love it. I think it turned out really, really cool, especially after we got the paint on it. The paint it's the icing on the cake. It just finishes everything off so nicely. I'm really enjoying the color palette that I chose too. I've really been into these dark, moody blues lately. And so I thought it would be fun to add just a tiny splash of that to my studio space. And while we're talking about my lamp, because I'm sure you're wondering where I put that, I have it styled on my new desk. So a couple of weeks ago, y'all walked through the whole process with me of building a new workbench, a new craft bench for my studio space. And we talked about at the end of that episode, building some desks and a new little printer area desk for my printer area. And I've gone ahead and built those. Now, I wanted to film it and I wanted to share that whole project with y'all, but I'm just gonna be honest, Michael and I were out in the wood shop together. He was working on one of his projects and I just started working on one of mine, and we ended up just having a really nice weekend together, just working in the shop without all the pressure of filming. So I made these. Didn't get any of the process filmed. However, it is very similar to the same style and same build as the workbench was. So I will show the desks to y'all at the end when we do final looks. However, I am loving the lamp styled on my new desk and I'm really loving the color. I hope y'all like it too. And I hope this inspired you to use old vases or vessels that you have lying around your house that you weren't sure what to do with, because oftentimes they make really cool lighting. Spring has finally sprung here in the Pacific Northwest and I am loving it. I have been enjoying lots of moments outside working in my gardens and in my yard and just enjoying this beautiful, beautiful spring weather that we are finally having. And it has put me in the mood to DIY a couple of really cool pieces for my outdoor spaces. So today, or not today, well, yes, today in this episode, oh my goodness, we are going to work on a really neat riser for a planter because it's just fitting for this time of year. I love to put my planters up on risers because it just adds so much. It elevates a planter. It can sometimes just take a boring old planter and really elevate it and make it look a little more sophisticated. And this design style is inspired by some pieces that I have seen. I've been seeing these a lot in, as I'm scrolling, just scrolling media, I'm seeing these. However, they're very costly. And I built this one for a fraction of the cost. So let's jump right into this project. I think y'all are really going to enjoy this one. It is so easy and so beginner friendly if you're new to woodworking.
I am so excited to build this cool little planter riser. So for my materials on this, I just bought this wood round at Lowe's, or no, actually, maybe I got this one at Home Depot, but I know Lowe's has these as well. And sometimes you can find them at Hobby Lobby also. But because it was so big, I obviously need to cut it to size. So what I did was I took my planter that I planned to put on top of this and drew the circumference around so that I would know the size. And then just come in and cut it with my jigsaw. However, y'all, I want to really make sure that this is a perfect circle and it's a really refined cut. So when I'm cutting this with my jigsaw, you might see here that I'm not cutting precisely on the line. There is a reason for that, and you'll see in just a minute. So what I'm doing here with the jigsaw is just cutting outside the line. I'm not being precise. I just want to make sure I get enough of that extra wood off that I can take it to our grinder. And I'm going to use the grinder, or the, actually it's a belt sander, but it has a grinder on it. And I'm going to use that to really refine my cut so I get a perfect circle. This is a wonderful hack to use. However, with that said, if you do not have a belt sander with a grinder on it, just do your best to use the jigsaw and cut your perfect shape and cut straight on the lines. You just want to make sure that if you are going to do it that way, to go slow with your cut. You could also use a scroll saw to cut this out, or a bandsaw also. I think if you don't have some of those tools, the jigsaw is the best alternative. So now I've got, my basic cut here, and I'm going to refine my shape with using the grinder as we talked about. And I just do this by gently, carefully going around the grinder and grinding off all of that excess wood on the outside of my mark, my draw line, until I get exactly on the line. And this is going to give me a perfect circle, and it's also going to give me really pretty, almost straight up and down edges, because I did not want any curve to this for a very specific reason. So we'll just go ahead and keep working away at this. It is a little time consuming. It does take a minute, and it makes a humongous mess, but the end results are well worth it all. Yep, all that mess and all that sawdust was well worth this perfect circle that I got. And I love the straight side. It's almost like a straight-sided circle, if that makes sense. I love the cut. It came out so pretty. So now we need to attach the legs, and this is a really easy leg assembly, and I purchased these legs on Amazon, so I will also have these linked in our supply list for y'all. So the best way that I know to cut a perfect circle, or to find perfect center on a circle, is to trace out your circle on a piece of paper, cut it out. And of course, I had to tape 4 pieces of paper together to make my paper big enough for this circle. But you cut it out and then fold it in half one way, and then you're going to fold it in half again the other direction. So fold it in half this way, and then take your side pieces, fold it in half again. Make sure you really press those seams so that when you open it up, you have a very defined center point. So here I am folding it in half again and really taking my time to press those seams in. And then when we open it up, you will have a very defined center point, as well as your 4 perfect lines for the edges. You'll kind of see what I mean right here. So see, you have these perfect straight lines. You have a perfect center. So then I'm going to go ahead and place it back on top of my wood round. I really hope y'all are still following me. I feel like I'm bumbling over my words today. Okay, so now I'm going to place it back on the wood round, and I know exactly where my center point is, and I've also got these perfect straight lines from the seam so that I can mark the placement for my legs, because I want my legs to be all exactly the same, and I want to make sure that they are coming off that exact precise center point. So I go around, mark all of my little points on this. What I did was I just made a mark on the paper, and it kind of created a little tiny divot in the wood. You don't want to go too hard because you want to be able to sand that out later. And then it just gave me the perfect point to make my line. Hope y'all are still following me here, because this does feel a little confusing, but trust me, it really isn't, and it really is a very, very simple process. Okay, so now all of my lines are on and everything is perfect. Everything is directly across from one another. Everything is perfectly centered. So the next thing we need to do is take our leg assembly, and these come with these amazing little, I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but they're what help us attach the leg to the piece of wood. I don't really know what these are called, but because sometimes I just, where is Michael when I need him? Anyway, so I'm going to attach the leg to this. I'm going to screw it into this little assembly, and then I'm going to get my placement, because you don't want your legs to be too close to the edge, but you don't want them to be too far in either, because you want a really good stable surface for your planter to sit on. So at this point, I'm just deciding exactly where I want the placement of my legs to be and how far in I want them. And then I mark everything exact, so that I did measure so that I got every one of them, in from the edge the same on all four sides. And then I come in and just mark the placement of these so that we can take it out to the shop and drill it. Golly, I really hope y'all are still following me, because for whatever reason, I'm struggling with my instruction today. Good heavens. Just watch and see what I'm doing. Alrighty, so I now have everything marked on my wood round exactly where we need to drill. However, I don't want to drill all the way through my planter, because I don't want a hole on the very top. So here is a really fun and easy hack. Take your drill bit that you are using. You want to make sure it's the correct size drill bit for our little assembly piece here. I don't remember what size drill bit this was, but I will list it in the description box for y'all for these specific legs. And then hold up your little assembly, find the depth, because you don't want to go all the way through, so that this helps eliminate having a hole at the top. And then just like that, the tape is your marker so that you know where to stop drilling. So I took this out to the shop and I went ahead and pre-drilled these holes, and now we can go ahead and put in our little screw assembly piece. I still don't know what this is called. So we're just going to call it our assembly piece. This is what our legs are going to screw into. So I went ahead and pushed these into my holes the best I could with my hand. And then I did take my mallet hammer and tap them all the way in so that they were super flush with our piece of wood. And then we'll go ahead and screw them all into place so that they don't move or go anywhere when we attach the legs. And as an afterthought here, I got a little concerned that these screws were going to go all the way through, so I did just check the depth. These are the screws that came with the legs, and it did not go through. This is a 3/4 inch piece of wood round here, and the screws didn't go all the way through, thank goodness. So we'll just go ahead and get these all screwed into place and get them attached to our wood round. Easy peasy. Now we have all of our leg assembly screw thingies attached to the wood round. So all that's left to do here is screw in all of the legs. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a little bit of a struggle for me because I don't have super strong arms, and I struggle a little bit getting these screwed in super tight so that they were flush and that they sucked up to that little plate there nicely, because I didn't want any gap there. So it took a lot of muscle to get this step done, but I finally did. I got all 4 legs attached, and in the end, this thing is looking really, really good. One thing to keep in mind though is because these legs are angled, you do want to make sure that all of your angles are facing outwards or your legs are going to look really funny. So we have this assembled. It is done. I'm so excited. Glad to have this done. It's very sturdy. It's very level. Everything is just thumbs up great here. So I do want to go ahead and add a little bit of sealer to this because it is going to be outside. And I did not have any waterproof sealer. So the next best thought here was wax. I'm just using a wax sealer on this because wax is waterproof. So it'll work temporarily, but I do recommend using a really good waterproof sealer on this, especially if you're going to use it outdoors. So it's looking good, y'all. What do you think?
I absolutely love how our planter riser turned out. It was so easy to make, and I'm so happy with the results. I feel like I could literally make dozens of these in just a matter of a few hours or even just an afternoon. This was so easy to put together, and it elevated that pot so beautifully. I love the contrast between the black pot and the natural wood riser. It is so pretty to me, so I'm pretty sure I am going to be making several more of these for different areas in my outdoor space. I love working with resin. Y'all have seen me do dozens and dozens and dozens of resin projects on my channel. It is one of my favorite mediums to work with. It is so instantaneous. You just get seriously instantaneous results when working with the quick set resin. So for our very last project, we are going to work on creating some darling little mini pots, little minty, good grief. They could be minty. We could put mint in them. Anyway, we're gonna create some pots out of resin and quick set resin and a mold. So let's go jump right into this next project.
For the resin pour here, we're gonna create some cute little mini planter pots, if you will. So I am using this really fun mold. I'll have this one linked in our supply list for y'all. And I'm also using some of this super quick set resin. This sets up in 10 minutes and it really truly does. This resin kit comes in two parts. You have part A, part B. You mix equal parts. This particular mold took 4 ounces of resin, exactly 4 ounces. So I combined 2 ounces of part A with 2 ounces of part B, and then you want to mix them thoroughly. So when you first start mixing, it's going to be a little bit cloudy. You want to stir this until the cloudiness goes away and it kind of becomes clear again. The thing to keep in mind always when working with this quick set resin is you only have about 1 to 1.5 minute working time. So you want to work fast and stir fast. Once they're fully incorporated, fully combined, you can go ahead and pour it into the mold. The other little hack that I have for y'all is when you're pouring into your mold, try to pour slowly so that you don't get bubbles. And then you can kind of tap the mold just a little bit to get any excessive air bubbles out that may have accumulated. I rarely get air bubbles with this particular resin, so it's not a super big concern with working this. And now we get to just watch the magic happen. And here you can see this is time-lapsed, obviously, but after 10 minutes, this is literally fully set. It is so it's just like magic to me, and it makes me feel giddy. I love working with this stuff. I have created some really cool projects with this quick set resin. It is a little bit expensive, but I can get a whole bunch of projects out of these bottles, dozens of projects out of one bottle. So in the end, per project, it really isn't. The initial expense is there, but then per project, when you break it down, it's really not very expensive at all. Okay, so now you get the satisfaction of demolding this, and yeah, these are a little bit wonky. So my mold appeared to be really round when I poured it, but apparently it's not. Once I started really looking at it closely, I realized, oh yeah, my mold is a little wonky. So my result is a little bit wonky. It's not fully round. It does have kind of a weird shape to it, but I still really, really like this. And I especially love this waffle weave texture on it. Okay, y'all, so I think I want to make a few more of these. I think I'll just make a group of 3. This time before I poured my resin in, I did kind of squeeze and mold, or just kind of knead my mold a little bit to see if I couldn't make it just a little bit rounder. But the process is the same. You just mix up your part A, part B, slowly pour it into your mold, wait 10 minutes, and just like that, you have a really cool little resin mini flower pot or planter pot or whatever you want to call it. Just watch how fast this sets up. Oh, it's so cool. I really do love it. This is time-lapsed again, but that is literally after 10 minutes. It's fully set and ready to demold. Well, this one turned out wonky also. It's a different wonky though. So I have two different wonky shapes here, but I've decided to just embrace this wonkiness and go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more pour, and then we'll move on to painting these. Okay, so I've got all three poured, and yes, all three turned out absolutely different. The wonky shape is literally different in all three of these. I never could get that mold to go perfectly round, but that's okay. I embraced it. So now we're going to jump into painting these. And again, this is, it's painting, y'all. We're just straightforward painting these. I did start out painting these with a flat brush though, and because of all the texture on this is a very textured piece. It's a waffle weave texture, and so there's a lot of, components to this to get paint in. So I started out with a flat brush, moved into a round brush, and it worked a lot better to get that paint down inside all of our little waffly squares. It's almost like putting syrup on a waffle. It was sort of fun. I really enjoyed the painting process, and I did decide to do 3 different colors, a separate color for each pot. In the end, I really love how these turn out.
I think these turned out absolutely darling. So I'm not 100% sure what went wrong with my mold and why the mold wouldn't hold its round shape. But y'all, I feel like the wonkiness of this is what makes them so charming and so endearing. So I'm okay with it because, all 3 of them turned out just slightly different. They all 3 have a slightly different shape to them, but I think it's fun. It just makes them very whimsical and gives them so much character. So I feel kind of happy with how these turned out. And I also love that these are so versatile. You could use these for so many different things. In fact, I styled one of them on my new desk to hold all of my pens because I just think they made a very charming pen holder. And these 2, I'm probably going to put some plants in them and set them just around, let them find their own little space somewhere in my home. They're just so cute. Well, y'all, that is going to conclude our 3 projects for today. I really hope that y'all enjoyed these. I think they all turned out so very cool. They are 3 very different designs with 3 very different ideas. So hopefully out of the 3, you got inspired somehow by today's projects. Y'all are going to have to let me know of the 3 if you have a favorite. I think mine might be the lamp. Friends, thank you so much for being here with me today and hanging out with me as we worked on these 3 projects. I really had fun working on them. I enjoyed sharing these ideas with you and really hope from the bottom of my heart that somehow you were inspired through today's projects. Okay, y'all, so I need to just share a little life update with everyone. So we are coming into the summer months, and as summer approaches, life is getting absolutely crazy, insane busy for Michael and I. We have a lot of things happening in our world over the course of the next 3 to 3.5 months. So I have had to sit back and really think about things, and I've kind of been forced really to make a very difficult decision. I did not make this decision lightly. A lot of thought went into this. But because Michael and I have so many events, big events coming up over the next several months, we have decided to just go to every other week with content only for the summer months. I want to really clarify that and reiterate that this is a very temporary change. So starting this week, we will only be, well, we actually kind of have already been only posting every other week, but I did want to touch base with y'all and let you know that is why. Michael and I have some big things coming up. Our youngest of 5 is graduating from high school. He has joined the military. We could not be any more proud of him. We're just so proud of him for making this very difficult decision. It was a tough decision for him, but he made it on his own, and we are so proud of him. So we have his high school graduation coming up, and then in 8 weeks or so we'll be traveling for his boot camp graduation, and we've got our grandkids coming to stay with us through the summer. My parents are turning 80 this year. It is a really big birthday, so we have lots of friends and family gathering to celebrate them, and we just have a few other events. Michael and I are going to be empty nesters for the first time in many, many years. We have been raising children for 41 years, in fact. Yep, that is right, 41 years. My oldest, we're a blended family, as you probably know. My oldest is 41, and his youngest is 18, and he's the one graduating from high school. So we've been raising children for a very long time. So for the first time in our lives, we are going to be empty nesters. We are looking very forward to this new chapter in our life, and to celebrate this big milestone and all the things that we have happening, Michael and I are going to also be taking a trip, just the 2 of us. So we have so many things happening throughout the next several months. So as I said, this wasn't an easy decision for me because I love creating content, and I look forward to spending time with y'all every single week, and our interactions and our conversations just mean so much to me, and I love it, and I always look forward to it. However, I feel like for the sake of my own sanity, it is best that for the next couple of months, we will just be going to every other week on my channel with content. So I hope this will not discourage y'all, that you will stay with me, stick with me, because this is just a temporary decision that Michael and I have made. And come fall, I will be back full time with loads and loads and loads of content and so many fun projects and crafty things, DIY things, just so many things coming up this fall. So y'all stick with me through the summer months. I will definitely be keeping y'all updated on some of our fun live events that we have coming up. So I want to just again thank all of you so much for being here with me, for your continued support, for all your love and your encouragement as we have grown together on my channel and gotten to know each other and worked through dozens and dozens and dozens of projects together. Y'all mean the world to me. For all of my members, not a whole lot is changing. My schedule's changing just a little bit. Videos, members only videos will be going out once a month still. However, the format has changed just a little bit, but we've all talked about that. So if you are a member on my channel, you've already been made aware of some of those changes. And my filming my upload schedule is going to be changing just a little bit too. So instead of uploading on Fridays for members, my members will be getting their videos on Saturday, and then on Sunday, it goes public to everyone else. So, and if y'all are interested in becoming a member, check out the member perks that we have available to you. We have 2 tiers. It's a ton of fun. Our members always have a great time together. So, and not a lot is changing there with all of the membership plan. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on and on and on about this, and I bid you all adieu. I will see you again, not next week, but the week after. Until then, y'all take care, and I will see you soon. Goodbye, friends.